Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to a new real-life car review. This episode I'm driving the all-new Mazda CX-5. Evolutionary exterior design changes, revolutionary interior design. Or at least I thought so, because a big infotainment screen is not the elephant in the room, if there even is any. So without any further ado, let's find out what this car is all about and why this car surprised me in so many ways. And as per usual, I want to start off by having a peek under the hood after the intro. I think I can keep this segment really short because we only have one engine and one transmission option. The engine is the well-known 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder eSkyactiv-G engine. That means it's a mild hybrid, 48 volt mild hybrid system, and it's the detuned version of the engine that we saw in the Mazda 6. Mazda has implemented this engine also in the Mazda 3 and CX-30. Its power rating is 140 horsepower, torque rating 240 Newton meters. But speaking of that power number, I mentioned in the Mazda 3 test from some time ago that the engine feels more powerful than the 140 horsepower that's mentioned in the brochures. And in the comment section we had a little discussion, and there were people pointing out that other owners of a Mazda 3 would put it on a dyno and it made around 160 horsepower. And I also think that the torque rating is higher, just around the 300 Newton meter mark. There are two things that you need to know about this engine. One, it's direct injection only. It does not have port injection, so your dealer has to keep an eye out during maintenance for carbon buildup on the intake valves. The second thing that I need to mention, important for this test, is that this engine has cylinder deactivation. And in the Mazda 3 and the Mazda CX-30 that I tested with this engine, that was very noticeable. It felt like the car was driving over a brick road while driving over an asphalt road, but that was an effect of the slight imbalance that's in the engine because it only runs on 2 cylinders. I had to ask Mazda, but this engine also has cylinder deactivation, but you don't sense anything of it in this car. So that's an improvement that Mazda has made. Other than that, there isn't much to tell. As said, there is only one transmission option only, and that's the also well-known Mazda 6-speed torque converter transmission. And that transmission and this engine work really well together. I don't miss the manual transmission in this car at all, and I think for 99% of the drivers the transmission programming of this transmission and engine combination will do just fine. The entire car, as I discovered, is laid out to a more comfortable driving style, not as much as an engaging and sporty car that the previous generation was, but it's a better car for it. So yeah, nothing new under the sun. This is a very well tried and true engine. I say this a lot, but in this case it's really true. This engine has been around for over a decade and it's just a good engine. So that's all I have to say about this. Let's head over to the cargo space and have a look over there. Before I open the trunk, I need to point out that the towing capacity of the new CX-5 is reduced with the reduction of the engine power. The outgoing model generation could tow up to 2.5 metric tons. Then this version, the new CX-5, it can tow up to 2 tons, which still is a lot. Now, as you may expect, this is the top trim level, so it comes with an electric boot opener. Huge cargo space, and you look underneath here, we get to the tire repair kit. There's a compressor under here, so you cannot stow a lot underneath the floor, but the nice thing is the floor is level with the entrance. It's huge. Mazda says the standard cargo capacity, as it is with the rear seats in use, is 583 liters, but Mazda measures up to the roof, so they include this section because over this roll cover. When you fold everything down, you have a cargo capacity of 2 cubic meters, which is quite substantial. And if you want to fold down the rear seats, you have these easy to pull levers. It folds down and it's an almost flat cargo floor. Yeah, really neatly done. It's carpeted all around. You have these little pockets on the sides here, some tie down hooks, LED lights, and I see a little flashing button over here. Oh, let me test it. That is for the tow hook, which is electric in this case. So there's that. let's have a look at the interior. Before I get in, I want to point out one typical Mazda thing, and that's these little fans beside the steering column. Whether you're a boy or a girl or have rainbow colored underwear, it's so nice to have these blowers on your lower body, your crotch area. In winter they are the very first thing to blow warm air, very soon after the startup of the car. And now we have a heat wave, and it's so nice to have cold air flowing over your lower body. That's real nice. So let's hop in. So I thought this large screen would be the elephant in the room after my experiences with the Mazda 6e, but it's not, because in that car we had to operate all the functions like the wipers, the lights, the door mirrors from that screen, and that was really cumbersome and frustrating. But look, a normal wiper stock, a normal light and indicator stock, and in the door we have the controls for the door mirrors, exactly as it's supposed to be. The HVAC controls are all hidden in this screen, but I will say this, once you found the right temperature, you don't have to adjust it a lot. The HVAC system, as I experienced in this heat wave, is really up to its task. So I've set the temperature once and it does exactly what I wanted to do. I don't feel the need to change it, and the same is true for the radio station, but admittedly changing the radio station is a little bit cumbersome in a way, but I listened to one station only. Once I found it, it's good, so you don't have to work with this screen a lot. The one thing that may be an elephant in the room for you is the fact that everything is Google based, and many people try to de-Google the life, but as I said in an earlier real life car review, you're watching this video on YouTube, so yeah, you can be as much of a hypocrite as you want. I don't use it all that much. It's very easy to connect via Android Auto and CarPlay, of course, and it works as it should. But that may be yeah, a little bit of an issue for some people. Another thing is that the system is sometimes a little bit slow to respond, and the graphics of this car over here, that's shown over here, yeah, is a little bit low in resolution. The resolution of the screen is okay, but the graphics themselves seem a little bit dated. Now I thought of it, Mazda has a cooperation with Toyota. Toyota supplies the new hybrid powertrains to other Mazda models, and Toyota has just rolled out a new infotainment system. So why not implement Toyota systems in Mazdas too, so you can de-Google it and have a real genuine Japanese car. So in front of me, the gauge cluster, which of course is also digital, and you can change the appearance. There's the fuel consumption, I'll talk about later. I usually have it to this setting, very simple view. Then you have this one where you get a tachometer and display for the driver aids, and this fuel consumption monitor. It's currently at 6.7. I've driven a lot on the highway. I've been cross country twice this week, and then my fuel consumption was 6.5 liters per 100 kilometers, which I think is pretty good for a car of this size and this weight. There are some physical buttons over here for the defogger and the defroster for the rear window, and a nice touch is, I never noticed it in other Mazdas, but it has these slow blinkers, and that slow blinkers are also in the hazard lights. That's a real nice touch, I think. Center console, a little pocket over here where I have my wallet, cup holders, and there is a wireless phone charger, which isn't cool. And then we have, I'll rotate the camera a little bit, this nice deep center armrest, which doesn't hold much volume. There are some connectors over there. One thing I could say is this interior is quite black. This is the top trim level that comes with ventilated seats, but it's also available in tan. And speaking about trim levels, we only have 4 trim levels over here, and I think the lower 2 trim levels, so entry level and the second trim level, may be the best choice for many people. Unless you want ventilated seats, you have to stick to the top trim level, which is called Homura over here, and that also comes with the larger infotainment screen. All the other versions get a smaller screen, and I do like smaller screens, so that's why I think that the lower trim grades may be the best option for most people. And one thing I want to add is this looks a little bit bland, this plastic around the shift selector. You've seen in some Nissan models where they added a little bit of texture, in Nissan's case a wood grain, and that wouldn't look out of place in this car. The seats themselves are nicely contoured. They offer a lot of support. Again, in the top trim level you get also an electrically adjustable passenger seat, and from the third trim level on, the driver's seat has always electric adjustability, and the seating comfort is just good. One thing that I noticed about adjustability, and let me show you, is the telescoping function of the steering wheel, which has a pretty large reach. It's for smaller people or real tall people not difficult to find a nice seating position. And speaking about the audio system, I forgot to mention the third and fourth trim level get an updated Bose audio system, which when you leave it in its neutral setting just sounds great. It's not Mark Levinson, but it's a real nice audio system. So this kind of surprised me the way this works, but what really surprised me was when I sat down in the rear. So let's have a look over there. Look at this, folks. Before I get in, I want to show you that this door opens to an almost 90-degree angle, so ingress and egress couldn't be better. And the same can be said for the seating comfort in the back. I can put my feet entirely under the driver's seat in my driving position. I'm 1 meter tall. Seating comfort is fantastic in the rear, so much leg room, and even though this car has the optional panoramic sunroof which slides and tilts open, I have so much headroom in this car. The only thing that I can say, and I'm really nitpicking, is that the seat itself is a little bit flat. If it would be angled up a little bit more, I would have more support under my upper legs, but that's really nitpicking because seating comfort in the rear of this car is just amazing. I also have something to say about seat comfort during driving, but I'll leave that for the drive segment. But I also noticed, I'm going to turn around, that you can recline a little bit. There are two positions, so you can recline back even more. I don't see a reason why you should buy a Mazda CX-60 if you look at the rear passenger space and comfort, because this is fantastic. I think it can even keep up with the CX-80 in terms of leg room. Looking at the creature comforts, two fans over here. In this version we get heated rear seats in 3 settings, 2 USB-C chargers and a large center armrest with 2 cup holders. So those are all the creature comforts. Now of course we have to do the window test, and the windows don't slide all the way down, but outward visibility is good even for smaller children. And I think the rear passenger space, may be the most important selling point for the new CX-5, because this is just great. Anyways, it's getting real hot and there's a thunderstorm coming, so let's do some driving and have the air conditioner and ventilated seats on. In comparison with the second generation of the CX-5, it has lost a little bit of its sporty edge and it's traded in for a more comfortable approach, and it's a much better car for it. If you ask me, you have just seen the rear passenger space is formidable. I think it's really good, class leading, but also the suspension setup is much more fine-tuned, and the suspension setup was the one thing that dated the CX-5. I mean, that car has been on the market for almost a decade, so it was in need of an update. And well, I think Mazda listened really well to the customers and they found a real nice suspension setup. You really have to push the car to find its limit, but then there's still much control. The only thing that I notice in corners, doing a little bit of faster cornering, there is a certain amount of body roll that the outgoing model generation didn't have. So I've always been a huge fan of Japanese car brands. This channel and my website started revolving around Japanese cars, and later I added the Korean and now the Chinese part. Japanese car brands are very near and dear to my heart, and I also look at the Chinese competition and the speed at which they have developed. I mean, I recently drove the BYD Dolphin, and if you compare that with the Toyota Yaris, well, it's a hard sell for the Toyota dealers if you ask me. But if you look at the suspension setup, the steering setup, and the way everything is calibrated, the ergonomics of this new Mazda CX-5, the Chinese manufacturers aren't there yet. So yeah, I said very pleased by the way this car drives. It's very relaxing to drive. If you slap the Lexus badge on this car, okay, it does have the look of a Mazda, but in terms of ride refinement and interior comfort, it can easily keep up with the Lexus NX for that matter, for a much lower price point. So yeah, all in all, I'm impressed. Now, we have to discuss prices, of course, and there are big differences between the European countries. In the Netherlands, prices start at around 45,000 euros. In Germany, that's 10,000 euros less because of a whole different tax system. As tested, this car cost almost 52,000 euros in the Netherlands, and that's a substantial amount of money. But then again, look at Belgium and Germany and see that this car is almost 10,000 euros cheaper. So how does the 140 horsepower do in this car? Well, as said, it makes more horsepower than the brochure states, around 160 horsepower, and also the torque number is significantly up, and you can tell that under acceleration. If I would demonstrate, the cameras would tip over. Not gonna do that now. Oh, there you are already. But the point that I wanted to make is the engine programming is the same below 4,000 RPM as in the old 195 horsepower version of this engine, and above 4,000 RPM you can tell that the engine power is somewhat nerfed. So that's only software, the engine internals aren't any different. And I said I get very decent fuel consumption considering I did a lot of highway driving during a heat wave and with the air condition on full blast, so that's not a recipe for good fuel economy. But despite all of that, my average is 6.5 liters per 100 kilometers, and I think I can even make it down to 6.1 liters per 100 kilometers if I wanted to. And speaking about the engine, that 4,000 RPM mark that I just mentioned is also the divider in engine noise entering the cabin below 4,000 RPM. You really don't hear the engine, it's just under hard acceleration that you hear the engine noise, but for a normal driving style, yeah, you will hardly hear the engine. Only if you want to quickly overtake when there's a short window of opportunity and you really put your foot down, you will hear the engine. And also that automatic transmission can be a little bit slow to respond, so if you want to start a quick overtake maneuver, it's best to shift down with the pedals behind the steering wheel. And speaking of engine noises, interior noises, suspension noise, wind noise, tire noise, is very well insulated in this car. It's just super quiet and it really feels like a new generation of the CX-5, and luckily it also feels like a true Mazda. Another thing that I want to point out is the way that the safety systems and the driver assist functions work, because they work really well. As I said, once you have everything set to your preferences in the screen, so radio and temperature, you just can leave it be. And I also don't have the urge to switch the safety system off, so it has lane departure warning, steer assist, and it even has an overtake assist. And I didn't even notice it because the way that this car overtakes is exactly the same as I would do. So just overtook a car, put on the indicator. Now the sign shows up in the instrument panel. As long as I have my hands on the steering wheel, it does the overtake maneuver, and it does it exactly right. It starts as soon as it can, and it does it very quickly, very neatly. And also the steer assist and the lane assist are very well calibrated. I really don't feel the need to switch them off because it interferes with my driving style. So yeah, in that sense, it's a true Mazda. It's a real driver's car, leaning a bit more to the comfortable side, I said, than the outgoing model generation. But Yin Baitai still stands, and I didn't expect that. But anyway, I'm almost through all of my talking points, so let's head over to the middle of nowhere and avoid a thunderstorm and wrap up this real-life car review. See you in a minute. The new Mazda CX-5 isn't the experience that I expected. After I tested the 6e, I saw the first pictures of the interior of the new CX-5, and I was worried that the experience with the infotainment screen would be just as frustrating and cumbersome as in the Chinese manufactured Mazda CX-5. Turns out it's not true. The only controls that I moved into the infotainment screen are those for the HVAC, and as we've seen in this test, the HVAC control or the HVAC system is so good that you really don't need to toggle the temperature a lot. Once you have it set, I think you can leave it there for the rest of your ownership. The only thing to be said about the infotainment system is the fact that it is Google based, where the Japanese manufacturers are more than capable of producing a good infotainment system themselves, as we see with Toyota and Nissan and Mitsubishi, for instance. So that's the only thing that I could criticize about this car. The most important thing is that this car is very non-distracting to drive. The screen doesn't distract you, and also the safety system and the advanced driver assist systems don't interfere with your driving. It's a single push of the button, it leaves you be, and then it's a real nice car to drive, a real Mazda. More than its predecessor, it's a comfortable car. They took off a little bit of the sporty side and moved it towards the comfort side, and I think it's a good choice. It still is a driver car, but it also is more of a passenger car, and especially the comfort for the rear passengers is exceptional, I think, in this car. It even beats the larger Mazda CX-60 in that respect. Good seating comforts, a lot of space, and also the suspension setup for the rear axle is very well calibrated for the rear passengers. So it's not what I expected, but it is what I hoped. Great car. Anyway, that's it for this real-life car review. I hope you liked following me along, and if you did, please give me a like. If you have any questions or constructive feedback, let me know down below in the comment section. Hey, and please consider subscribing to my channel. Also, if you want to support the channel, you can do so by buying me a coffee. I'll leave the link for that in the description box. That's it for this real-life car review. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye.